Hi everyone, I am Kimberly, the 5-Minute NP. The 5-Minute NP was born out of my belief that small, incremental changes can drastically change the trajectory of your life. Our genes do not have to determine our lifespan. My goal through this podcast is to act as a roadmap that bridges the gap between knowledge and action, leading to you living your healthiest, happiest, longest life. Welcome to the 5-Minute NP podcast. On today's episode, a certified life coach from Germany with a 30-year psychology background, Julie Leonard, joins us. Julie has made it her life's work to help others increase their happiness, get unstuck, and move forward in life to live an intentional, happy life, full of the potential you were meant to have. Today, she shares her personal story and transformation from an insecure, anxious, introverted person that didn't even want to speak to anyone to now a confident, happy, fulfilled person that speaks and provides the tools to people internationally on how your life can be transformed as well. Welcome to the 5-Minute NP podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Julie Leonard, certified health coach who lives in Germany. So she's going to speak with us today about all different topics about happiness, self-care, self-love, moving forward out of this quarantine. And welcome, Julie.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm in Missouri. So
great.
Yeah, it's funny. It's 2:00 here. So you said it's what, 9:00 there?
We're 9 in the evening here. Yeah. So my prime time podcasting time.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to talk with you as I dove into your world, just your website, learning about you. I have to tell you, I resonated with you so much because, you know, we share kind of a similar story. As a child, I was quiet, kind of insecure, lacked confidence, and, you know, just kind of wasn't real outgoing, but yet I tended to hold it all in. I would suffer with anxiety and stress and stomach pains, and it was awful, and really lacked self-confidence. And, you know, that kind of continued through a lot of my life, you know, just not really having a voice. And, you know, so it's taken me through this journey of self-awareness to finally find that voice, which is why I love doing this podcasting. And I'll just kind of talk a little bit about, you know, what kind of turned for me is, you know, at like 38, I was just fresh out of a divorce. I was just crazy. I was totally being judged by everybody around me, you know, just, you know, kind of siding with my ex. And I'm like, what is happening? So I felt so low, so, you know, broken. And I went and saw a financial planner who was a female, and she said to me, I was probably sounded just pathetic. I mean, I was just so low in my life. And she said to me, what happened in your life that you lost your voice? And I thought, wow, like that's powerful. So it took me on this self-reflection, this journey of when did I lose my voice, you know? And I'll never forget it. It made an impact on me. And for several years after I met with her, I still struggled. I still struggle, you know, with those things. But now it's like I've kind of made similar realizations for you. I can be locked into my past. I can be locked into that negative mindset, self-pity, or I can move forward in my life. And that's what I do every day. I do something to work on myself. And so that's kind of what brought me here and these are all things that are giving me an opportunity to talk to people like you. So I just thought I would just jump into your story with the early beginnings of where you started and how you transformed into becoming this successful certified life coach.
So much for sharing your story with me. I really resonate with so much of your journey as well in life, and it really is very similar to my own story, I think. So I guess, starting at the beginning. Well, I grew up in Scotland. I live in Germany just now, but I grew up in Scotland. And in Scotland, we don't really talk about emotions. It's not a thing that we do, particularly if you're a man. You don't talk about emotions, and there's so many factors. There's a lot of cultural issues there, and yeah, like I say, we don't talk about emotions very much.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with a father who's now in his 80s and who was depressed his whole life,
Mm.
and it wasn't talked about. It's just that's what he was. That's how he is, and he never really changed anything, and he never did anything overtly bad in any sense towards us, but just by virtue of being depressed and being very, very anxious
Mm.
and in his own head a lot. As a child, I interpreted some of his behaviors, negatively in myself. So, like, he would often not be listening to me when I spoke to him, or he would cut me off and talk about something else, that kind of thing, because he wasn't paying attention.
Mm.
And I interpreted that and internalized that over the years as, not being good enough, not having an opinion worth listening to, not having anything of value to add to a conversation.
Mm.
I had a lot of that. I don't know where exactly yet that comes from, but I grew up with a very strong belief that I was very ugly and unattractive. And we didn't talk about things in our family. So I was very in my own head and very alone and very, very anxious, very, very shy.
Mm.
And that followed me through all my childhood, into my teenage years, into my 20s. And I think then what happened was I did get into a relationship, and I was at a place where I didn't have strong self-esteem. So my happiness was dependent on that other person.
Mm.
So when things are good, things are good, and when they're bad, they're terrible. And I hadn't really cultivated that inner resilience. It was all about external things that made me happy. And it turned out not to be a great relationship. And I was in it for a very long time, for 16
Mm.
years, but it ended
Wow.
up quite toxic. And when I eventually was able to leave that, I really had this moment of sitting on my sofa, looking at my cat, and I hadn't really done a lot of stuff. I had a very successful career, which I'll go back to in a second, but um, personally, I wasn't really doing much. I wasn't going out, I wasn't socializing or anything. And I think someone had said, "Oh, do you want to go out?" And I was kind of like terrified, like, go out somewhere. I haven't done that in ages.
Yeah.
And but I remember sitting there and thinking, like, what's more scary, to go out there and go for life, or to stay as I am? And the realization was so strong, like, I don't want to stay like this. This is more scary. Is this my life? Is this it? And that really was the turning point for me, where I really worked on my own transformation. Was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to live my life. And guess what? In parallel, that happened was, personally, I was, still stuck with like limiting beliefs and negative
Mm.
thinking and low confidence and anxiety. But professionally, I was doing really, really well. So it was no surprise that I studied psychology. I had to really make sense of what was going on in my life, and I was really
Yeah.
drawn to it, and I loved it. Absolutely loved learning it. Um, and I pursued that as a career. So I studied psychology, and then I started working in mental health services, going out to people's homes, working with women. And I would go in, I was very much about not just like helping people not feel so anxious or stressed or
Mm-hmm.
depressed. More than that, I saw people like just existing, not really living. And I've always had this drive and this belief that we have one life, so you've really got to make it count. And I would always say to people, what are you looking for? What does recovery mean to you? What do you look for? And they would always say, I want to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that really started my journey on like happiness and what does that mean for people. And
Mm-hmm.
I would explore that with them, like, what do we change in order for you to be happy? What does that mean to you? Because it's particular for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for over 20 years. And then about 8 years ago, I met a lovely Italian when I was at a wedding in Romania and ended up moving to Munich. So that's where I am now. And I realized I really wanted to keep working with women, and I wanted to work for myself. And it's a natural continuation to become a life coach. And so that's what I do. I work with women all around the world to help them let go of their negative thinking, their limiting beliefs, to really transform themselves into the people that they want to be, and to live a very fulfilling life. I'm all about going for amazing, not just settling for fine, that's not good enough. Let's go for an amazing life. And that's what I do. And I call myself a happiness evangelist. I want people to know that no matter what you've been through in your life, you don't have to be defined by that, that you can really curate the life that you want, that you can be really proactive in your life, not just reactive, and that things can be changed. And I hope by sharing my story that, it happened to me. And gosh, I think I've worked with about 1,000 women now over 30 years. It's been my whole life passion. And I see that transformation every single day. And I just think it's so important not to feel like this is just who I am, or that's just me, or that's my life, or this is all I can have, but to really go for being the best version of yourself.
Well, I love that. I think you're so right. I think so many of us get to that point, like I did, prior to leaving my marriage. I was just at that point, I had lost both of my parents kind of young, and I was just like, I'm just stuck. I am not happy. Is this it? Life is short. What if I die young? So many of those feelings, but I have to say that really what kind of kept me in those places in my life were those negative self-limiting beliefs. Maybe I can't do more, this is me, and like you would never know that about me, because I show up to work, I'm optimistic, I'm fun, successful, but, really I struggled with social anxiety and just insecurity. And it really took kind of doing the daily work of overcoming those negative beliefs, and which has been tremendous change for me as well. It's like, wow, my voice does matter. My voice can impact people. I can make a difference. And that's an amazing feeling. So I love and agree with you that we are not defined by our past. We have the ability to change. Our brain is not fixed. And you can get unstuck and have the life you want. And I think that's really, I want to focus on that with you. I mean, how can we do this? How can we let go of those things, let go of those negative beliefs that are holding us back, and move forward?
Absolutely. You're completely right. And that's with all due respect with what people go through. People have gone through, horrendous traumas and really huge difficulties in their lives. But, we're not defined by that. You don't have to be stuck with that. You can really choose to have the life that you want. And as we're saying, the brain is not fixed. It's not, it's that you can change it. And we're not just saying it because we've done it and hey, you too can be happy. There's real science behind that. We have neuroplasticity. We know that we can change our brains and train it to be more positive. So I think I say that, and I reiterate what you're saying, because I think that's important, that, it's not just us saying, hey, you can be as happy as us, and let's be realistic. When I talk about being happy, it's not about that I live in this bubble and I'm just like smiling and just, dancing around and, because that's not what it's about. I define happiness as having an inner resilience to cope with what life throws at me, the ability to bounce back and to deal with whatever happens, to have a sense of balance, a sense of calmness. That's what I'm cultivating. I've got an inner strength. Before I spoke about how my happiness was dependent on external factors or external people, and that's where most of my clients are. That it's like a roller coaster, isn't it? It's about, when things are good, everything's great. And, when the relationship works well, you're happy. And when your colleagues at work are great, everything's fine. But as soon as something goes slightly wrong, you're just in the depths of despair and you just roller coaster with emotions. I'm all about really developing this inner strength, this inner resilience, so that you can manage life and be as happy as you can be. And I think what's important then is working out like what your negative thoughts are. And that sounds kind of silly to say, but those are always such automatic thoughts, and most people are so not aware of it. They maybe know that they're a bit negative or they're not so confident, but actually my starting point with people is always, let's get into like what you're actually telling yourself. And people are shocked about actually the language they use internally all the time. And so that's the first point, is to really understand what your inner dialogue is. And I get people to capture their thoughts and they bring it to me. And, I have people bringing pages and pages, and it's like, that was just like one day, when you think, gosh, and you wonder why you feel quite low or you feel quite anxious, because like that's what's in your head all day. And so, but it's so automatic, it just comes, you don't even know it, it's just, that's who I am. And I'm like, no, it's not who you are, it's who you are at this point, and for good reason. There's so many influences on us. Sometimes it's something very obvious, but a lot of my clients come and say, well, I didn't have a bad childhood, I wasn't traumatized, I don't know why, I don't have anything that's caused me this. But there's so much as we grow up that just influences us. And so I think understanding what you're saying to yourself is really important, and where that comes from. And then we can start to transform that language. So that's the biggest step. Like, just really know what's going on in your own head and how you're talking to yourself, because not only are these thoughts about things, it's also pretty much guaranteed how you talk to yourself is pretty harsh too.
Wow, you're so right. I am not even kidding you. And it is like, that is kind of where I started on my own. I started to address it just face on. I always liked to journal, but I kind of lost touch with it, back into it, writing down, what are my weaknesses? What am I struggling with? What is it about me that's holding me back? And starting to develop ways to overcome that. I mean, why am I so insecure? And just kind of really addressing each issue that I had is really where I started to see the transformation in my life. It's like, wow, I can have the life I want. I don't have to be limited by those thoughts anymore. Of course, it took a long time to get to this point, but it's just actively, which is part of why I started what I did with the 5-minute NP. It was like, I have a strong belief that it is the small incremental changes that can impact your health, that can transform your life, because it's happening for me. So that's really where my passion, started to leave the treatment room, which I love and I still do, but it's like, I want to get out there and let people know what I have to share, and it took me realizing that my voice does matter. I can make an impact, and that is so empowering.
Empowering, yeah.
To get to that point, and which is kind of what I want to talk with you about, as far as I'm all about intentional living, because again, that's where it has become transformational for me. So I want to talk with you about how we can become more intentional in our life, to be happier.
Yeah, and just picking up on what you said there, it's like, it's these small incremental changes that we make, isn't it? Don't feel it's got to be some huge, big, moment that transforms you, or like you've got to do this huge piece of work. It's an ongoing journey for a start. You and I are not sitting here going, hey, we've done it, we're all sorted,
Right.
Everything's great. Because gosh, you just deal with one thing and you go, and here's another challenge, because you and I are both really growing. We have a growth mindset. We're really wanting to change and grow constantly. And I'm always pushing myself. Like, here I am chatting to you, and when I was at university, I couldn't even go and meet friends in the canteen because I was so self-conscious. I couldn't walk in there by myself. And even then, 6 months ago, people were saying, like, you should get out there and talk to people. And I'm like, oh, I'm great one-to-one, but gosh, going out there and chatting and, our small groups, and here I am, podcasting away, chatting nonstop. And, but I'm constantly, I don't like the term going out of your comfort zone. I think that's a kind of really harsh term, and it's what terrifies people. I always talk about expanding myself, growing my confidence, so that I expand my comfort zone. I'm constantly expanding into my comfort zone. And so I'm really growing all the time. So by doing that, I'm constantly having to come up with all this resistance and all this stuff here's another limiting belief and what I'm challenging. So it's definitely a journey. So believe in that as a journey. It's not like you do a piece of work and it's all done. But
Right. We've had happiness. We're done.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
If only, but no, it's
Right.
not. But yeah, it's the small incremental changes, as you say. It's all these little things that we can do. But in terms of like taking that step towards living a more intentional life, and I'm all about intentional happiness. It's about focusing on what's actually truly important.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we don't want to dwell too much on it, but I do think it's a point here where we're recording this that we've been able to sort of pause for a while and
Mm-hmm.
reflect on what's actually important. And the key here is that we are also busy. You and I are really busy, even though we live in a very intentional way. Life is busy. People are really busy, and we get through the day, get through the week, get through the month, and how often do you go, gosh, I can't believe it's nearly Christmas, or I can't believe that's another year gone. How many times have you said, oh, I really wanted to work on this or do more of this, and the time just
Mm-hmm.
goes. And so just by nature, we're very busy. And so being more intentional to me is about slowing down, really reflecting on what is truly important and being really clear with your priorities in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like we do a lot of stuff because we think we should do it. We do a lot of stuff because we feel obligated to do it. We do a lot of stuff just because social media tells us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really good to really hone in on what makes you truly happy and what's important. Like, if you have an ideal life, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
And is it working till you fall asleep at night? Is it vegging out in front of the telly every night? Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but moderation.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's looking at things like relationships are really important. My family is important. Cultivating friendships, those things are important. What I do as a living, is very important to me.
Mm-hmm.
My health and nutrition is really important.
Mm-hmm.
The things that bring me joy are really important. I love going to concerts and rock music, and
Yeah.
that just makes me
I do
feel
too.
so
That's
alive.
fun.
Yeah, cool. So so rather than like forgetting that or not having time, it's about simply prioritizing that. And
Mm-hmm.
so like for me in the last year, my health has been really important. And so rather than just saying, oh, I'd like to be a bit healthier or to eat a bit healthier, I've like really consciously every single day said, right, what do I have to do in order to be eating
Mm-hmm.
the healthy diet that I need to eat in order to feel good?
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. It's about being conscious and being intentional and being really clear on what it is that's actually important to you. And so that's where you want to start, getting clear on what is important, what you want to do more of, what you want to do less of, and making sure you do that every
Mm-hmm.
single day. Be really conscious in that life.
That that is so good. I think you're so right. It's really having an awareness of what matters to you. And when we're not living intentionally, our life is just happening. Every day is just we're just here. We're just existing. And it's not until we become intentional that suddenly everything we do matters. And I think you've got it so right. It's like finding your why do you do the things you do? Why do I get out of bed? Why do I do the job that I do? If I say my family is so important to me, or this is so important to me, then why am I spending all my time doing these other things that's not bringing me happiness and living by my values? So that's such great advice. Well, I think this is kind of a good time because on your website you showed your vision board and just encouraging people to make one. And earlier on, I posted on my site my vision board, and obviously I could have fit a lot more on it, because as I've become more focused and but in goal oriented and working through the process, and I just felt like doing that vision board brought me such clarity and focus on where am I going, what am I doing, and why. And it's been wonderful for me. So I just want you to kind of expand on that a little bit about the power of making a vision board.
Absolutely. We've all heard about them and how great they are, but I think for many people, it's quite hard to like sit down and make one. Like, I'm going to cut out magazines and sit for an afternoon. What's that all about? How's that going to bring me $1 million or whatever it's going to be? But I have to say, I love them. I've been using them for years. I run workshops on them, and it's just incredible what happens. And you and I know that power because we've been using them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, they're a great way to get clarity on what's important to you. So when I'm running a workshop, I have hundreds, literally hundreds of magazines. And sometimes people come and like, they're kind of clear, oh, you know, I want pictures on, you know, having a family or this kind of job or a beautiful garden. And so people quite consciously look for certain things, which is great. But a lot of time people look through stuff and they pull things out, and I get them to just take out whatever calls to them, and they start creating boards, and then it's completely different from what they thought it was going to be. You know, actually, it really pulls out actually where they need to be. But the beauty of it is that it's a very, very powerful tool to manifest the law of attraction. And
I love that.
What's really important. Yeah. And we hear about the law of attraction. Let me try and explain it in a way that really brings to home like how real it is, how concrete a concept it is, and how powerful it is. It's not just some idea, you know, or some, you know, woo-woo thing, sometimes people say. But, you know, our brain, like we've talked about our brains so much, our brains have to filter so much information every single day. You think about all the stimulation that's out there in the world. You cannot take it all in. Your brain would just go, you know, it's not going to happen. So, you know, it really looks for information in alignment with what you're thinking about at the time. And so if you are only thinking about, you know, going to work and going to the supermarket and watching telly, then that's the only stuff that you're going to see, you know. And also then if you're thinking very negatively about things, then you find that information that supports those negative thoughts. Now we want to be able to change that and be positive and be proactive. So if you have images that you can see consciously every single day, you start to train your brain with what you consciously want to work on. So first of all, you're getting clarity. So that's important. You need to know what it is you want. And then every day you've got a visual reminder of what is important to you. And you're telling your brain that. So your brain's like, okay, I'm going to start looking for stuff that's in alignment with that. So to explain it in a way, like we have what we call blind spots. So, you know, let me give you an example. We've all been there where someone says, oh, you know, have you heard the latest, you know, Justin Timberlake song? And you're like, no, I haven't heard that at all. And then after that conversation, you're like, oh, there's that Justin Timberlake song. That's really funny. I've never heard that before. I was just talking about that with someone. And then everywhere you go, there's like, oh, there's a poster now for the new album that's coming out. And there he's on the TV. And you're like, what? And it's not like Justin Timberlake wasn't there yesterday. It's just that you weren't looking for him. You know, your brain had no idea that that's what it was to look for. So that's a kind of silly way, but that's a kind of great way to illustrate, you know, like when you start to get an idea in your head, you start to see stuff, you know, it happens all the time with, you know, movies and all these different things. So imagine if you put that to use with the things that you really, really want. So if you really want to focus on, you know, a new job, or you really want to focus on a family, or, you know, getting money, or whatever it is you've got it in your vision board, or traveling, or whatever it is, if you become so conscious of that, then your brain will filter out the other stuff that's not needed, and it will start to look for that information. And what it does is it brings opportunities to you. So I bet you've done loads of that since you started saying, like, I'll do a podcast, you know, like all the opportunities that come up for you, or, you know, me saying, oh, I'd like to be a podcast guest. And then, you know, I think, where would I get that from? And now it's just everywhere I see podcasts and opportunities, and things happen, and then you draw more and more and more to you. So it's a really, really powerful tool. It's really worth making the time for that and having those images up where you can see them, so that you're constantly reminding yourself, this is what I'm working towards, and you're manifesting what it is that you're really aiming for. It works wonders. I have a great story of one of my clients who did one of the vision board workshops, and she really wanted to go to Greece. That was her thing. She wanted to go, and she put it on her vision board, and her husband had been saying, nope, don't want to go there, don't want to go there. She put it on her vision board. 6 months later, she's like, we're going to Greece. Oh, wow. And because one day he woke up and he was like, I think we should go to Greece. And it's like every day he's just seen this picture in their house, you know.
Right.
It's just like, I think that'd be a really good idea. I'm like, yay! So
Yeah.
you can also influence other
Awesome.
people in your house with what you've got up there. So
That's awesome. No
I love
doubt.
that.
That is so cool. I so agree with you on that part. And also, for me, I have, twins that are 18, a 23-year-old and a 12-year-old. And just having your kids do that. I mean, there's so many kids like my twins, they don't really know what they want to do right now. I mean, they're going to go to college, but, and so I was just talking to my 18-year-old son last night. We need to create a vision board for you. Just saying you want to make a lot of money isn't, I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you need to have, break things down. Let's get down to what you really want and how you're going to get there. So
Yeah,
even
being
for
more
kids, I
specific.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's powerful.
I think it's
Um,
super. That's a great point. It's a great way to do it for yourself, but it's great with your kids. And also, I've been creating happiness mood boards as well. So, like, when we're talking about what makes you happy, and that's a great way if you want to be intentional as well, is like creating a little mood board, of like what are the key things. I've got like 9 things that are like the things I should focus on because they make me happy. It's got food,
yeah,
it's got tea,
yeah,
it's got music,
yeah.
it's got family, And I did that as a workshop, and then one of my clients started doing it. She did it with her 3-year-old, and he could cut out pictures and he put things on like, this is the stuff that makes me happy, mummy, And I just thought that was
Oh,
wonderful, So I think that's something that you can do with your kids from a really early age, and it's not a childish thing for us to do, but it's also something that's for everybody, or that you can do with your family as well, and start to introduce that to them from an early age about this concept of like you can, in a very positive way, you can create the life that you want. Be specific, work towards it, be clear on what that is, don't get distracted by other stuff. So yeah, absolutely great for kids, great for everyone.
I love what you were just saying about finding happiness in thinking about it and visualizing it, because I find myself doing more of that. What makes me happy in a day? And I find myself looking for ways. Okay, well, when I wake up, I love to go out and get in the sun. I love to have a cup of tea. I love to journal. I love to read. I love to play with, my kids, whatever. It's like I find myself, now that I've been changing my mindset, and I really am trying to find ways each day to bring that happiness into my life. And I love that perspective from you. That's awesome. Um, well, also something else I really like that you talk about, which is kind of huge in our society, all about self-care, all about self-love. It's really been a big focus, I think, in the last few years, this concept. Could you tell me how, what this concept of self-care means to you and how you define it?
Absolutely. I say self-care is self-love. That's how I always start it. Of course, it's a term it's bandied about a lot, and like, hey, we all know we should do self-care, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just a little bit of pampering, a little bit of me time, a little bit of relaxation. To me, it's one of the most fundamental priorities in our lives, and I think we overlook it greatly. I've just had a whole talk about that with my happiness club this week. The mind and body is linked. We know this, we talk about this, so we know that how we feel physically influences how we think and feel emotionally, and vice versa. And the impact on stress on us is phenomenal. It has a massive detrimental effect to our health. Research studies that I was sharing with the group on Monday, well, quite literally, shaves years off your life, that's how bad it is. And so I think when you have that real understanding of like the impact of stress and what we all live with, people feel stressed a lot,
Mm,
all day, every day.
you're
Our
right.
stress response was meant to be, when there was a little bit of danger at some point, I was going to get eaten by a tiger, I'd get a stress response. Nowadays, we live with persistent and consistent stress, and we're
Mm,
not meant to be like that. And
mm,
there's also huge studies about like the effect of perceived stress, not even that you're in a stressful situation, but you perceive that there could be stress.
mm,
I read a study recently about a group of women who perceived that they had stress, and like the markers on your telomeres and your DNA, they were shortened by like 10 years for women
mm,
who are perceiving stress. This is like serious stuff. So self-care isn't just about not doing anything, or just lounging around, or a bit of a luxury. It's much more than that. It's actually about proactively taking care of yourself and valuing yourself and seeing that you're worth that and that you want to live your healthiest and best life. And I always say self-care to me makes me the best version of myself.
I love that.
Best version of myself.
Nice.
When I look after me, I'm reducing my anxiety, I'm reducing my stress, I'm reducing my worry, I'm improving my mood, I'm feeling happier, I'm calmer, far less irritable, I'm much more fun to be around, so then I'm a better mom, I'm a better partner, a better colleague, I'm a better coach, I'm a better daughter, as women, we have to give a lot. People want us for so many different things. We give and give and give, and we often put ourselves last. And it's so important. It's not just just take care of yourself. A bit of self-care is good. This is essential. And it has to be up there in your priority of goals. We have to be looking after ourselves.
No doubt. I think also eliminating toxic influences is a way of helping us. Because even watching something or listening to something or reading on social media negative things, it causes stress. It causes us to feel stress and tension, and it's not healthy for us. So I think that's another thing to think about as well.
Sure, definitely. Unplugging is a good part of self-care, and also just being aware of what we are tuning into and what those influences are. Social media. It's really proven that, because of social media now, we're really got these really unrealistic expectations of what, happiness is, or what we should do. You look at celebrities and that's what, you're meant to aim for. And therefore your perspective is very distorted about what makes you happy. And
Wow.
so it's really important to be clear on what influences you're following, what you're looking at, what you're filling your mind with. We're all on social media, but I do believe social media is fantastic if you're its master, not its slave, and you really have to be in control of it. And if you are, it's amazing. But be aware of what that does to you, how it makes you feel. Is it healthy? Is it toxic? Are you losing hours with that? Are you numbing? Are you using it as a numbing technique because you're not happy? Be aware of what those things are.
Wow, that's so true. That is such a great perspective. And I love what you just said about mastering social media as opposed to being a slave to it. I mean, that's powerful when you really think about it. We are in control of what we do, say, watch, and take part in. So that's awesome. So I'm all about, small incremental changes. I mentioned that the 5-minute NP is, kind of based on that really, what are small things what are things that we can do quickly to improve our health, improve our life, improve our happiness. And I got to throw in, honestly, you don't have people's attention span for very long, especially in my setting. I work in an urgent care and I'm trying to get it all out in a very short period of time. So those things combined kind of tied into why I kind of found that title.
Okay.
So what I love that I saw that you had that I want you to share is your 5 1-minute wonders of self-care.
I can indeed, yeah, because sometimes life is busy. It just is. We all have good intentions, and can I just share some really quick? I love this concept. I read about it. It was called, and I wish I'd made it up myself, but it's called the No Zero Days. Do you know this? So it was a concept created by a Reddit user, and it's that kind of idea of, how you set your goals and you want to do stuff, and then you get to the end of the day and you go, oh, I didn't do all those things I said I would do, and then the next day you don't do it. And then the next day you think, oh, what's the point? I'll give up. I'll start next week, and you don't do it. The idea is that you do something, even if it's tiny, you do something every single day. So, if you say my goal is to read, and then you go, oh, I didn't get time to read today. If you read one line or one paragraph or one page, you've read something. And the point is that you do that every single day. You don't just stick to that. It starts to build momentum and to grow, and it snowballs. So this is a great way of just keeping consistency going and keeping motivated and building it in, even if you only have 1 minute. So my top 5 that I think work really well are to breathe for 1 minute. we can all do that for 1 minute. We can all stop for 1 minute. So when things are really overwhelming, when you feel like your head is really, really stressed, when you just feel like you can't get out of those, loops of negative thinking, or you just feel really overwhelmed, or, people are demanding so much of you, take 1 minute to breathe. Even 3 deep breaths in and out instantly calm us. And if you need to, draw your attention from your head and focus on your toes. It just takes your attention away from your head and to the furthest point of your body. But 3 deep breaths over 1 minute. Amazing. It's so powerful. Simple but powerful. The second one, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like people say that a lot.
Yeah.
Just take a deep breath. Just take some deep breaths. But the power in it, as you were just saying, is actually huge. And that is what has gotten me out of having anxiety, panic attacks, is honestly learning that one thing you just said. Honestly, just taking slow, deep breaths. It's huge.
Yeah, it seems so obvious. And yeah, I think unfortunately we kind of throw it out with like, take a breath, and a kind of very dismissive, calm yourself down kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the truth is 3 slow breaths and then breathing deeply for a minute just helps balance us out. It's amazing. So it does and it just diffuses things. Maybe if your emotions are rising or you're reacting to something, it helps just diffuse that and calm you for a moment and just give you a space between whatever you're reacting to and how you feel. So definitely really works. My second one is I love to color. This is one of my favorite things to do. So I often do it with my son. If I can't have time to myself, I do it with him because he's totally into coloring, which is brilliant. So we've all got those mindful coloring books and a pack of pens. Everyone got one for Christmas one year. Get those things out. They work really well. But why that also works is it's psychologists call it like a flow state. We would call it getting in the zone. It's things that you do where you just go to the zone and you lose track of what's going on around you. When you focus on a task that needs some concentration, you go in a different part of your brain. You go away from part of your brain that's overthinking and worrying and stressed out, and into a different part of your brain, and you switch off. So even if you can do that for 1 minute, whether it's coloring, another one for me is reading. That was number 4 on my list. I love to read to escape, even if it's just 1 minute, or you read a great article, on your favorite magazine. I love to do that. I've got a couple of great magazines that I read, all about mindfulness and meditation and stuff. Even just reading an article, or little something online, an article you see online or something. Just read something that just again, you just escape into our world and just zone out for a little bit, just 1 minute. So those are both things that take you into that flow state, into that zone for a little minute, and just relax. If exercise is your thing, then I think the plank is also a great one to do. If you're like, oh, I want to do lots of exercise and you just don't seem to do it, 1 minute of the plank is totally amazing for like working on your core and your back, and has a huge benefit. 1 minute's all you need. So going into plank is just fantastic. And again, you've got to concentrate on that. You just collapse, don't you? So
Right. Yeah.
And my number 5 is gratitude, the practice of gratitude. Again, something else that's talked about a lot. It's very popular right now. We talk about, being thankful for what we have. But the research on gratitude and the impact it has on us is huge. Take 1 minute to write down 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of the night. It's proven that it reduces your anxiety, it reduces negative thinking, it really helps you calm down at the end of the day, it increases positive thinking, and it means that you go into sleep, you sleep better, and you have to wake up in a better mood because you've processed stuff. You're going into sleep in a more positive way. And this, again, is all part of that training your brains to think more positively. It's a great tool for neuroplasticity to really train your brain. So do that every day for 1 minute for 21 days, and you're creating a habit, and you will feel the difference. It's super easy and it's super powerful. So I hope those are like 5 things that are really easy to do. Take 1 minute, but have a huge impact.
Wow. I have to tell you that the last thing you just talked about is one of the biggest things that I've changed in my life that has totally changed the way I view things that are happening to me, outside of me. It's like literally just focusing on 3 things I'm grateful for changes so much. Even if it's, I'm grateful it's nice outside. I'm grateful I got to sleep in. Whatever it is, it's like, wow, it's more powerful, I think, than people think. That's
Very
awesome.
much, very much. And the research is backing it up. It's tremendous. The impact that it has on us, on our brains, and how we feel, and
Yeah.
just creating that. I also do one in, I have a Facebook group called the Happiness Club, and I do the daily happiness moment. That's what I created. And I ask people to focus on what was their happiness moment for the day, and we share it. And we have this beautiful positive feed every day of people sharing things that happen. And you can see now over time, people are sharing lots of things, not just one thing. Oh, this happened, I saw this, and people are actively looking for it. And that's what we want to do, is like, we're not dismissing that there's really hard days and there's lots going on for people around the world right now. And life is really tough for many people. Within everything, there is things to be thankful for. And it's just about changing your perspective and how you see things. And that is a really useful tool to become more positive, to feel happier, not to dwell on the things, but to see the positives. And what we often find is that, yeah, maybe something does go wrong that day, something really big even, but it means that it overshadows everything that was positive. And often we can't even see the positive for that one negative that happened. You might have an argument with your boss or something, and it's like, oh, what a terrible day. Today was awful. Nothing went right. Everything was terrible. We use these absolutes. And in fact, yeah, that was horrible. But in there was like, a kind colleague that took you for coffee and chatted to you, or the birds were singing, or the sun was shining, or the bus turned up for you immediately. You didn't have to wait, or, your best friend called you. There's so many things that we have to keep training our brains to look at, because we're very easily drawn to the negative and
Mm.
quite easily lose sight of the positive. So the power of gratitude is amazing. Please try it. If you're not doing it, try it. It's 1 minute out of your day. 1 minute. It's nothing, 7 minutes out of 160 hours in a week to feel happy.
Right.
If anyone said that, if a doctor said to you, hey, do something for 7 minutes in a week out of 160 hours, it'll make you feel amazing and make you live longer and be totally happy, you'd be like, yeah, I'll take that.
Sign me
So
up.
yeah, sign me up for that one.
And another thing I thought I would mention that's also helped me is kindness, trying to do kind things for people. And that act of kindness truly does, boost your mood, your well-being, and as well as help others. And I think also, like within your group, when one person is, you fuel off each other's energy. And I think that there's positivity in that too.
Definitely, yeah, being kind is good for us. It's good for our health. It
Mm-hmm.
reduces the stress hormone cortisol. It increases oxytocin, often fondly known as the happiness hormone or the
Mm-hmm.
cuddle hormone. It's really
Yeah.
good for us. So it's a great antidote to that. Being kind really counteracts stress and negativity. And it also has a ripple effect. So as you say, if I'm kind to you, you feel great that day. Oh, Julie did something
Mm-hmm.
really lovely for me. And then you're in a good mood. So then you're like, do something for your son. And then he's in a good mood. So he does something nice to his friend. And it just has a ripple effect. It
Right.
really reaches out to people. And I do believe that, we can spread kindness, that we can create a movement of positivity, and that more people love than hate. And I think we can really use that in a positive way. And there's lots of research as well about not only that, the person that you do something nice for feels great, you also feel good,
Right.
because it makes you feel good. It makes us feel good
Mm.
to help others. We like to be asked. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Like I preach about kindness and happiness, and I would always encourage people to reach out for help and ask for what you need. But I know I sometimes struggle with taking that back. And what I think about is like, how does it make me feel when people ask me for help, or they ask me to help them do something? It makes me feel good to be able to help
Mm-hmm.
someone. I like to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
that. So it's important to ask for things that you need and allow people to show you kindness, and also to give kindness in return. So think about that one. It's so important to just spread a little kindness. Be conscious of that. I always do an advent calendar and the 24 days up to Christmas, and we do a kindness advent calendar in my group,
Mm.
and it's lovely. We consciously do an act of kindness every day, and it's just lovely to, for many people it feels like, well, why wouldn't you be kind? But it's just nice to consciously think of that and to see the impact. And
Right.
gosh, so many things have happened to me because of that. I've attracted so much kindness, and I've met so many people because of that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just wonderful to just be part of such a positive movement.
Oh, you are so right. In this day and age, especially in the US right now, I mean, there's a very heated, society is very heated, a lot of negativity going around everywhere on the news, on social media. And so just even posting a quote about positivity or gratefulness or kindness, it's so good to see. It's just like, wow, we truly do need to learn to treat people as we want to be treated, and our world will become a better place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've just got to keep sharing it. One person does make a difference.
Yeah.
As I say, it's a ripple effect. So, you act with kindness, you've got a family around you, you've got friends around you, you've got clients around you. That has an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be disheartened when, it's easy to feel hopeless in these situations, to feel overwhelmed, to feel powerless. But I do believe, as I say, there's more love than hate in the world. And the more we do that, the more we practice it, we do have an effect.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to keep doing it. Don't give up on that. It's a powerful way to feel happier within ourselves, and we can make a difference.
Right. That's awesome. Well, I know you're over in Germany, but how can everyone in the US find you?
Oh yes, still reach out to me. I work in the evening and I have lots of American clients. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, I'm sure you'll post this for everyone. But yeah, you can see my website, which is julieleonardcoaching.com. And I'd also, if I can share with you, I'm sure you'll put it in the post notes, but I have a really lovely Facebook group. It's a free group to join. It's called the Happiness Club. And I'd love to invite you over there. Please come and join me. We share lots of positivity, lots of inspiring quotes, and we have lots of challenges that go on every month. We have lots of free courses that run. We share lots of positivity, and I run an online international happiness club. Women from all around the world join me to talk about all aspects of happiness. So please come over and find me there and say hello. I'd love to have you in the group.
That sounds like an awesome group. I'm definitely joining your group because
I'd love you to be in there. It's totally
we
perfect for
need
you.
positivity. I love that. Well, my last question for you is, what is the one thing you believe can impact others the most by what you do?
Wow, that's a great question. The one thing that I impact the most in others, by what I do. I think it's about sharing my passion and telling my story and letting people know that I see them, that they're real, they're worthwhile, and my message is that you're really worthy of the life that you want, that you really can have the life that you want. So every day I will keep showing up, I will keep pushing myself, challenging myself, growing as a person, and I will show up as my authentic self to support anyone who needs me to support them. And just one last thing that's really important to me is like really cultivate a sense of self-compassion. I think we're very, very hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think cultivating a sense of self-compassion and being kinder to ourselves. We talked about kindness there. And it is important to be kind to others, but also it's important to learn to be kind to ourselves and treat ourselves with much more compassion and kindness every day.
Wow, that's so true. That's all such great things. That's awesome. Well, Julie, thank you so much. I had a great conversation with you, and I look forward to having you back on and talking again in the future.
Oh, I'd love to come back. I think we could talk and talk and talk. We've got so much in common. And so thank you so much for inviting me on and letting me chat about all these things that I'm so passionate about. It's just been great chatting to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will see you in your happiness group.
Absolutely. See you there.
Take care.